Hi YouTube, it's Kathy and I'm here to tell you about my TBR for the 15th round of the Queer Lit Readathon. I am, of course, if all went well, releasing this on the same day as my guest host, which is Ren, so make sure to check out their channel and see what they're reading. If you're not familiar with the Queer Lit Readathon, you should probably check out my announcement video, which I will link down below. But for the broadest of strokes, this is a readathon happening all throughout the month of June, and I'm trying to black out this bingo board of challenges. I have put together a TBR that has 8 books on it, and if I read every single one of them in the month of June, I will have crossed off all of these prompts. And if you're familiar with me, you know that this is my readathon and I go a little bit extra because of that, so usually I am going to complete my TBR. Previous me wrote down all of the challenges and which book went to that challenge, and then also a list of all of the books, but didn't list which challenges those books actually complete in that type of way, which is going to make it a little bit of scrolling time for me to figure out which books go for which challenges, but we're gonna do it. The first book that I'll talk about here is something I've mentioned briefly in my announcement video, and that's because it's the group read for this round. That book is called Wrong Answers Only by Tobias Madden. This will cover not only group read, but Australian author, and I'm going to let previous me do a theatrical reading of the synopsis for you. Marco's always done the right thing, but now it's time for wrong answers only. Marco should be at university studying biomedicine. Instead, he's been sent to live on a cruise ship in the Mediterranean with his estranged uncle, all because of a blip everyone else is convinced was a panic attack, which it most definitely was not. And even though Marco's trip is supposed to provide answers about himself, about his family, all he finds on board, the ocean melody, are more and more questions. But then his friend Cece proposes a new for someone who has always done the right thing in every possible way. It's time for Marco to get a few things wrong, and hooking up with a hot dancer from the ship is only the beginning. Next, we have a book that is doing a lot of heavy lifting because it's actually going to tick off 4 of the challenges for me. That is a graphic novel called Out of Left Field by Jonah Newsom. This one will tick off the outside prompt, it will check off short and or sweet because it's a relatively short graphic novel. It will check off a banned book because this is definitely a book that some people have had some problems with because oh no, it's queer. And it will check off a book that starts with O. In fact, the very beginning of this book description is probably enough for certain people to try to get it banned because it reads, "A nerdy gay teenager jumps headfirst into the broy world of high school baseball in this semi-autobiographical LGBTQ+ graphic novel." I saw a video at some point about this author talking about his book. It actually might have been Reads with Rachel's video where she had authors come on and talk about their books that had been banned in places, and I went, that's something I need to support. The next book on my list has a longer title, so I'm going to read it on my phone so I don't have to do this take 10,000 times, but it is Flamboyance, The Queer Harlem Renaissance I Wish I'd Known by George M. Johnson. This one for me is going to check off the choose your own prompt, which I've decided is non-fiction for the purposes of this readathon, as well as the one-time author prompt because I've read one book by this author before. I've read their book, All Boys Aren't Blue. I should also mention that I'm borrowing every single one of these books from the library, so every single one of them is going to cover the borrowed prompt. But for the purposes of making graphics for this video, I'm just going to let this one be the one that I show covering that prompt. Let's read a little bit of the synopsis of this one, shall we? In Flamboyance, George M. Johnson celebrates writers, performers, and activists from the 1920s Black America whose sexualities have been obscured throughout history. Through 14 essays, Johnson reveals how American culture has been shaped by icons who are both Black and queer, and whose stories deserve to be celebrated in their entirety. Sounds fantastic, I don't need to hear any more. Next, for Small Town, I decided to pick up Ghostwood Song by Erica Waters. The beginning of the description of this one drops a couple of comp titles that I've read before, so I'm interested. Sawkill Girls meets beautiful creatures in this lush and eerie debut, where the boundary between reality and nightmares is as thin as the veil between the living and the dead. Already intrigued. If you've been here before, you know that I don't like to know too much about a book going into it. I just kind of want to know, is this going to cover the prompt? Cool, let's do it. Ooh, but I accidentally just looked at the synopsis and it has to do with inheriting your father's ability to call ghosts from the grave with his fiddle, which sounds really cool. For the alliteration prompt, I decided on Cursed Cocktails by S.L. Rowland. This was already a book on my super long holds list from the library where I basically put things on that list and then I suspend the hold until I actually want it. And I was looking through and I'm like, are any of these titles alliterative? That one is. The first line of the synopsis of this book, again, is enough for me, but I'll probably read a little bit more for you, and that reads, "When life gives you lemons, squeeze them into a stiff drink and stir." After 20 years defending the frozen north against some of the most dangerous threats in the Nine Kingdoms, Roran Bloodbane has finally earned his retirement. While the Blood Mage's service to the realm may have ended, burning veins and aching joints remain, and Roran soon learns that a warmer climate offers relief from his chronic pain, and a chance at a fresh start. So from my understanding, a really good comp title for this one would be Legends and Lattes, which I did very much enjoy, except for this one happens to take place in a bar. And I'm here for it. This next book has been on my eventual TBR for ages because I saw Audrey over at Perpetual Pages talk about it ages ago. But upon realizing I would need to find a manga for this TBR, I decided to pick up Boys Run the Riot Volume 1. A transgender teen finds an escape from the expectations and anxieties of his daily life in the world of street fashion in this personal, heartfelt story from a transgender manga creator. Honestly, I didn't actually need to know anything about what this was. I just need to know that Audrey said read this and I would do that, but I figured you might want to know a little bit more about what it was, so there you go. Next, to cover the 1990s prompt, I decided to do a reread of Tipping the Velvet, which I read before for an in-person book club that obviously doesn't exist after what happened in 2020. People have dispersed, some people have moved away, etc., so we just never got back together again. This book is definitely not set in the 1990s, but it was published in 1998, so it counts for this. And this is historical fiction about these two women, one of them who wants to be a male impersonator and the other one who works as her dresser. And I remember towards the end of this we were all kind of like, oh, so apparently every queer person in this entire city is in this one scene. That's a little bit weird. But at the same time, overall I remember enjoying this, so I'm willing to read it again. Not to mention I definitely want to put an audiobook on this list, and the library does have a copy of this as an audiobook, so that is my plan. Finally, for this TBR, we have a book that can cover 4 prompts for me. Some of which are covered by other things, and of course I'm not even throwing in the borrowed prompt in there, which means that it would actually cover 5 things. This one covers Plus Size Main Character, 2025 release, starts with O, and continued, and that's On Her Terms by Amy Spalding. I felt a little bit cheeky putting this on here for continued because it's actually the 3rd in a series I haven't read before. However, I think I've read 3 of her books previous to this, so that's fine, and from what I can tell this seems like a companion series, so I don't think I'm going to be missing too much context from not having read the 1st and 2nd books. But if you're familiar with the Out in Hollywood series, please let me know down below if I'm making a terrible mistake. The synopsis in part for this one reads as follows. A fresh, funny, contemporary romance about being true to yourself and your desires, even if it means plunging into uncharted territory. Fresh off breaking up with her boyfriend and swerving away from her conventional, TikTok-ready married life she never wanted, Clementine is ready to explore the alternatives. Not that she wants to be single forever, much less die alone, but at 36 it's time for her to experience new things, including in her love life. And though an invitation to a fake relationship to appease a family sounds like a recipe for disaster, Clem finds herself saying yes to smart-spirited dog groomer Chloe Lee anyway. I'm personally enchanted by fake dating, so what could go wrong? Besides the miscommunication trope, which I'm sure will come up at some point, but that's just of the convention. So there you have it. Those are the 8 books that I'm going to try to read for the month of June, specifically for the Queer Lit Readathon. I'm sure I'll throw some other things in there as well because I typically read more than 8 books in a month, but who knows? I certainly don't know what this month is going to hold. Have you read any of these books? Do you have any other books that I should have in mind instead? Let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down in the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you were here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you happen to be on your keyboard. Some people have asked if there's a way to financially support this channel, so I set up a Ko-fi account, which is a digital tipping service. The link for that, as always, is down below. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye!